Hi, it's Harry Redknapp here. You're listening to a proper podcast. It's the Alan Hudson Podcast. It's proper football, proper talk.
Well, hello again. Welcome again to the Alan Hudson Podcast. Thanks for joining us. If you're a subscriber to our podcast on the YouTube channel, thanks very much for following us. If you're not, if you like what we do, of course, we'd love it if you did subscribe. Just go to the YouTube channel, Alan Hudson Podcast, and click on the subscribe button, and we'll be very grateful if you could do it. Today we've got another fantastic guest. What a career this fella had. He won it all. He spent the vast majority of his career at Old Trafford, and he's largely synonymous with that great club. It's Alex Stepney. Alex, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining.
Stoke and Sammy McElroy from Stoke and all that. And my friend had a box up there and he got rid of it, Alex. That's why I haven't been up recently.
I think a few of them.
I think he's touting for an invite, Alex.
Hey?
I think he's touting for an invite.
Probably, no problem. No problem.
I could do the job up there, actually. I can't get a job anywhere else. But no, I was talking to Tony the other day, Alex. I think you are still probably one of the biggest mysteries that signed for Chelsea, yeah?
Well, yeah, it was quite surreal, to be honest, Al, because what happened was I started at Millwall.
Yeah,
I had three. I mean, I didn't turn pro till I was nearly 21. I was one of those. I mean, I don't know about yourself, but I mean, you came through the youth ranks, probably at Chelsea. I didn't. In those days, you couldn't sign for a professional club until you left school at 15. And I played in the English School Shields, and for me district team, and I was reserved for Surrey schools. I was reserved for London schools because I lived on the border at Mitcham, of course, and because there was no substitutes in those days, so I didn't play, so no one saw me, and I had to get a job, so I went to work, and eventually, 1963 was a very bad winter. The football season shut down for two months, and I was playing for Tooting and Mitcham. I was on the verge of an amateur cap, Al.
Yeah,
and which was a good thing in those days, because if I'd have got it, I could have gone to the Olympic Games, which is just finished now. You know what I mean? It's one of those, because it was all amateur in those days.
But you might have had to do the 100-yard sprinting and all that.
not as a goalkeeper, no. that was it, and at least I played a few games. I was invited to play. My manager at Tooting and Mitcham was a guy called Derek Upton, who had played for Charlton and was wicketkeeper for Kent. And he actually said to me, Millwall short of players because there were so many games being played. Can you play some reserve games? And I played about 8 for him, I think. And because 1963, at the end of the season, they asked me to turn pro. So, I mean, that was my boyhood dream. I thought, well, why not? Somehow I'm in the right place at the right time, and that was it.
But where you get that, from where I know things can happen overnight, but what you're talking about, how you're kind of on the brink, and your schoolboy dream was to sign pro.
Yeah.
But within like 4 years, you won the European Cup.
I know, it was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Because what happened? I mean, Millwall. I mean, I had a great manager called Billy Gray, who came in. I mean, first manager was Ron Gray, but he lasted about 5 months while I was there when I first started. Billy Gray took over, and we won promotion from the 4th division to the 2nd division in 2 seasons. And I won 323 caps under Alf Ramsey in 65, right. 66 seasons. So, and I was playing with like Tommy Smith and Chris Lawler and Alan Ball and Martin Peters. I mean, I didn't know them. They'd never seen me play because it was not like it is today. You know what I mean?
But different division as well, weren't you?
Well, that's right. That's right. No, you didn't meet it unless you played against them in the cup game or something like that. And that was it. And because unbelievable as it sounds, we won promotion to the 2nd division, and I wanted 1st division football, obviously.
Well, the thing that gets me, Al, really gets me is knowing Tommy Docherty the way I knew Tommy Docherty.
Well, and me, go on now.
Yeah. It kind of, I'm trying to think to myself, trying to work it out. I've known you. I haven't known you well for a long time.
No.
You've been up in Manchester, I've been in London.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'd have both been in London. We'd have had a few days out or whatever.
Course.
But I'm thinking Tommy's got Peter Bonetti. Was it a time when he was trying to have two players for one position? He thought you're the
No. What happened was West Ham came for me. Ron Greenwood came in for me. And the manager then at Millwall, I mean, happened to be a guy called Benny Fenton who played for West Ham. And Ron Greenwood came in for me, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out on the deal. I went to Millwall for nothing, and they were going to get 45 grand for me from Ron Greenwood. And in those days, you had to try and use your love to get something, because it was a football league rule. There was no payment, and I thought, I want a few quid. They got me for now, and now they're getting 45 grand.
Yeah,
and actually, it sort of scuppered because they wouldn't come up with anything. And I told Ron Greenwood, and he said, "Alex, I appreciate what you said, because I think there'd been a bit of a problem with Bobby Moore at the time." And he wanted a bit more, and it never came about. And then I went to Millwall, went back to the ground, and there was Tommy Docherty. And he said, yeah, I'll give you what you want, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, you've got Peter Bonetti. He said, no, I've fallen out with Peter Bonetti. I'm selling him to West Ham.
Really? Now
then, I'm thinking, I'm all right. And like you said, what Tommy's like.
Well, yeah.
So I said to Tommy, I'd like to have a word with the chairman. The chairman was Joe Mears.
Yeah.
And because I go and see, he said, yeah, no problem. And I had a word with Joe, and he said, I said, Mr. Chairman, I said, I said, I'll sign if you're definitely signing Peter Bonetti to West Ham. He said, Alex, you sign for me now. He said, for Chelsea. I'm going to sell Peter Bonetti to West Ham, but Peter was with the World Cup squad. This was May '66.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I believed in Joe Mears, and I signed. I think 3 days later, because Joe Mears was on the FA committee.
Yeah.
And England were playing Norway in a friendly before the World Cup, because we didn't have to play any games because it was in England. And Joe Mears went to Oslo. And sadly, he dropped dead of a heart attack. Did you remember that? Or would you know that?
I was too young.
Oh, right. You were too young. Okay. Well, that's what happened. Because the new chairman come in and said, Peter Bonetti's not going. Now, a closed season, isn't it?
Would that have been his son?
No.
It wouldn't have been his son.
Mr. right name, Pratt. That was his name.
Well, they all are, aren't they?
So that was it, and of course that's what happened. And because when the season starts, I mean, Tommy's got to play Peter. That was how it was. And I think Peter played the first 3 games or something, and I played 1 reserve game, and that was it really. But then, of course, Peter gets an injury, so I played down at Southampton, right? And we win 3-0. We win 3-0. And on the Monday morning at the training ground at Mitcham, actually, it was in Mitcham, that Jimmy Andrews was the coach. He said, you wanted back at Stamford Bridge. The boss wants to see you. So I'll go back there. And because Peter was thinking, I played well, and it was a bit of a rumour that someone, a big team was coming in for a Chelsea player. And because I go to Stamford Bridge, and then somebody took me to the White House Hotel near Euston Station, and then walked Matt Busby and Jimmy Murphy, and that was it.
Unbelievable.
So, as it turns out, I still hold the record at Chelsea, don't I?
Unbeaten.
No, I'm the only goalkeeper player with Chelsea, never let a goal in.
Well, you're going to have 2 records then, don't you? Oh, well, I suppose you can't get beat if you never let a goal in. But the story I heard, which I believe your story, because I've heard the story. I can't even tell you for a God, because when it comes from Tommy Docherty, you don't know what to believe, do you? You know,
no, you didn't. No,
you
right.
don't know what to believe. We both know that. We know that about Tommy, but it's all about. I really thought that. No, I was told that he bought you, and I thought it was a smart move. I thought, play Alex 1 week and Peter the next, and do that, you know. And I was told that Peter went in to see Tommy, and he went, I ain't having that. I want a transfer. And he went, well, he said, that's the way it is. Have a transfer. You want a transfer. And then it kind of all went sideways. And the next thing, but the thing that intrigues me more than anything, Alex, is who got the best of the deal? Say Peter, say he'd have kept you and Peter would have went to Manchester. You think he might have got the better of the deal?
Well, I mean, yeah, because I was at United for 12 years, and they were a fantastic club, and we won everything basically. You know, that's it. But the actual thing about it, you know, you don't know, do you? I mean, I was very fortunate. I mean, playing with 3 European footballers a year in the same team, and another World Cup winner. You know, I mean, you got a chance of winning something, haven't you?
Well, I mean, at that time, Benetti was at a club. He was at a club that Chelsea were going to take over Manchester United, because the team you walked into, they were all getting too old, weren't they?
Well, after I mean, I think everything boiled down to like 10 years after Munich when we won that European Cup in '68. You know, that was that. I mean, and having like Matt, who survived Munich, and Bill Fawkes played in the final, and of course Bobby, you know, scoring 2 goals in the final. I mean, but it was so historic and memorable to do that 10 years after Munich was incredible. Yeah.
Because
Matt, I mean, no disrespect to Tommy, we know what he was like, but I mean, bloody hell, he came to United as manager. I thought, bloody hell, I've had him once for 4 months. How long am I going to last now? But no.
But you know, I can imagine, because I went up there when I was playing for Stoke. We played you one night, and I went up to Old Trafford with a broken leg.
Right.
I was in a plaster, and Tommy come in the bar. We were laughing and joking. He said, "You done well before you broke your leg at Stoke." He went. I said, "Why didn't you try and buy me?" He said, "We couldn't afford you." The same old Tommy.
Yeah.
But it was. And then Greenoff went there, and he was a superstar there, wasn't he?
Well, Jimmy, it was. I mean, I always classed Jimmy as a player that was so unlucky that he didn't play for England. You know, absolutely. It was a great player. I mean, and he was at the top of his career when he came in, 77, 76, 77 season. And of course, we won the FA Cup in '77.
Yeah, and he got the goal. It hit him on the shoulder. He told me. Yeah. But I watched a great show yesterday morning about Jimmy Murphy.
Oh, did you? Right, okay.
Oh, it was wonderful, unbelievable. You know, all about Manchester United, come up to your years and all that. It was amazing.
He was a lovely man, Jim. He was a character. He was a real character.
Well, they said he was behind the Matt Busby, you know, thing. He done all the business, you know, brought all the players through.
Yeah, well, they had an unbelievable way of working, Jimmy and Matt, because I mean, you know, if you didn't have a midweek game, I mean, sometimes during that week you're gonna have a you know, the first team defense with the reserve, or you know, and young kids coming through as forwards, and vice versa. You know, the reserve defense, and you know, you Bobby and Dennis and George against that sort of thing. Yeah. But what they used to do, Matt would walk down one touchline, and Jimmy would be on the other touchline. But they wouldn't tell us experienced players what to do. They would be telling the young kids that were coming through on that game how to play.
Yeah.
So they never really discussed with us. They believed in us. They let us use our talent, our own personal talent, to run games. You don't get that today. I mean, you've got to do what you're told today.
No, it actually said on this program yesterday, which was quite interesting as well, that they used to meet down a certain pub on a Sunday to start just the backroom staff, Matt Busby, Jimmy Murphy, and 3 or 4 others, and discuss things.
Yeah, they would do. That was it. Yeah, that was it. Near the cricket ground, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that's how it was, though, wasn't it? You know, I mean, there was so much respect given to us as players. And, you know, you work for somebody who's giving you respect. You want to give that respect back to them and go out and win and try and win every game. Simple as that.
Well, absolutely. But I think it may have been a little bit different in your club, because I can only imagine what it was like after Munich. In the area and everything else, and they're looking after kids, and they'd lost all them young kids, as you know.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's always been said, isn't it? I mean, they won the European Cup, you know, 3 or 4 times before we won it. You know, that was the way it was. There was, I mean, Duncan Edwards was probably the greatest name, you know, in the team at the time.
Yeah. Bobby Charlton said.
Well, but
I suppose what I'm trying to say, I was unlike round here. If you'd have been round here at the time instead of up there, you'd have got nothing like that. You know what I mean? It was all. I don't know. I can only say one thing. When I always had this thing with Bobby Charlton, first 2 games I played against, I thought he was a miserable sod, you know, and then all of a sudden he never ever said hello, never smiled. No. And one night I see him at a hotel, a function in the West End, and I was walking through the foyer, and he was looking at something, and he turned around to me and he went, "Look after yourself."
Yeah.
And I thought, what's all that about, you know? And it was. And I didn't realise that Billy Folks come round my house, tried to sign me in San Jose.
Right,
And he told me all about this. And I just thought, I realised as years went on, that why Bobby was like that.
Well, listen, he never spoke about Munich.
No.
He never, ever spoke about Munich. But the only thing he would ever say was, and you can imagine how many people would have probably asked him, you know, even in our company, you know, you're always going to get people around the hotels and that when you're away from home. And I think he always, listen, I lost my greatest player that's ever played. That was Duncan Edwards. He was so that was him. But ironically, on the 50th anniversary, there was a big reception at Old Trafford and with Bill and Bobby, of course, and they both came out at the same time for the press. So they kept it for 50 years between them.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one who didn't was Harry Gregg, because Harry was a character. Harry, and he went in and played, and, you know, he was a good lad, Harry. I mean, when I signed for United, Harry was still there as a goalkeeper. Then he went to Stoke, funny enough.
Yeah, my boss signed him. He loved him,
Yeah.
There's a
you want to ask something, Tony? Go on.
Yeah, well, there's a bit of a Fulham connection between you two, because I think Alex was also turned down by Fulham as a kid, weren't you, Alex?
Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously I was a school team, and when you finished school, we kept together our district team, and we had a youth team, you know, a club in Sutton, and played there. And one of the parents there said he had something to do with football, and he got me a trial at Fulham. And I went for this trial at Fulham, and because I played for the first 45 minutes, and Bedford Jezard was the manager, and he came over and he said, "I'm sorry, son, you're never going to make it." Well, what do you do? what do you do? You know, well, I'll prove you bleeding wrong, mate. You know?
Well, yeah.
And ironically, when I got in the 70 World Cup squad, we done a thing, Top of the Pops it was, back home and whatever he sang, and then we had to go to Alf Ramsey was very strict, and you know he was great, Alf, but we had to go to the Grosvenor because there was a big, I had a big ball on, to raise money for things, and there was loads of top people there and, film stars and that. And so we all had to go to one table, like we all invited to go one table. So we're all around the room. And I went down and the table I went and sat down. It was Ted Ditzman, who was the old Spurs goalkeeper. And I sat there, Pepper Jezard, and he looked at me and said, I think I got that wrong.
Yeah, I think he might have been the one that told me I was too small when I went there. Oh, we got that in common, mate.
Yeah. But,
so you left Chelsea in exactly what time, Alex?
September '66.
Yeah. See, I was just signing apprentice then. That's why.
Right.
I was never in the dressing room and see you around. I often wondered.
Yeah, that was September 6th. Well, I was only there 4 months.
Yeah.
Oh, so I signed in May. Sorry, I signed in May, and I left in September. So 4 months.
Just interested to know, Alex, what your relationship.
Sorry, Tony, when you was a Chelsea player, you was a player for about a season.
Well, no, I was only there for 4 months. 3 months.
Well, you signed him at the end of the season, and then
3 months was close season.
Yeah.
This was obviously a difficult time for both you and Peter Bonetti. I'm intrigued to know what your relationship was like with Peter during those 4 months.
Well, we never saw each other because Peter was with the World Cup squad, right? Because they won the World Cup. Banksy was in goal, of course, but and Ron Springett was the other goalkeeper. But then we went. Typical Tommy Docherty. You'll love this, Al. Right? You'll love this. All of a sudden we're going on tour, right? Pre-season tour, and where did we go? Germany. And what was on while we were in Germany? The World Cup final. him being a bloody Scotsman, he didn't want that. He took us to bloody Germany. Because you can imagine what it was like. We got in the hotel and went to watch the game, and because they all had their bloody towels on the bloody seats, but they all walked out at the end of the game.
Well, you must have been together when the season started. You must have been.
But it was like when Peter came back at the start of the season. We just trained. I only trained with him a few days because he'd been with England. You see, that was it. And like I said, what happened? It was obvious that Tommy, as far as I was concerned, he was all right with me. Don't get me wrong, he was all right with me. But I guess the situation was because the new chairman had come in that he, and that's what he actually said. Peter Bonetti's not going. So I think that's why Tommy had to play him up. That's what goes on in football.
Well, more so with Tommy. We heard all the stories in later years about. I had a dealing with Brian Clough with the envelopes and all that, but I'm sure there was something that was going on around that time. My God, Tommy. Tommy went to Rotherham, didn't he? When he was at Rotherham, they got relegated, and when they got relegated, he gave everybody a pay rise, doubled their wages because he found out he was getting a sack.
Yeah,
so he could put more money in.
Well, he didn't do bad out of the 2 cup finals we played in over.
So maybe go on, Al. You carry on.
Well, no, I was going to say, George very well. I knew George very well. And,
I know you did. Yeah.
He had murders. He had murders with Tommy. Tommy wanted it was his. I think Tommy, because George wouldn't, George was George, but he weren't going to bow down to what Tommy. And be fair to Tommy, built a good team after that, didn't he?
Well, yeah. Well, we got relegated.
Well, you got you played us tonight. You got relegated.
Yeah.
At Stoke.
And I I was top goal scorer with 2 bloody goals. And you had me taking penalties. And the funny thing about that, I mean, Jerry Daly used to take the penalties for us, you see. But on pre-season tour, we played Penarol from Uruguay in Murcia in Spain. Well, Murcia played Valencia. We played Penarol, so it was going to be only a little 4-team competition. It was going to be a Spanish team in the final, so that was it. And we drew with Penarol, and I saved a couple of penalties or whatever. And I took a penalty score, but never thought no more of it. And then after about 3 or 4 weeks in the season, we're at home on a Wednesday night to Leicester. And Martin Buchan, who was our captain, and Jerry Daly had failed his fitness test. And Martin, as the bell went, said, "Who's taking the penalties, boss?" And he said, "Alex." Well, I didn't think I would, because I'm at the Stretford end. I'm at the Stretford end because we get a penalty because I run from the Stretford end to the scoreboard end as it was in those days. Losing goal, Peter Shilton. Well, you should have seen his bloody face when he saw it. You should have seen it when I sent it the wrong way.
I like it, Ali. I wish I'd have been there.
Because I scored another one against Birmingham, and that was it. But we got relegated, and like everything else, you would thought that Tommy would have got the sack, but they didn't. They kept him, and he then bought Gordon Hill. Well, we had Gordon Hill, and he got Stevie Coppell towards the end, and Little Lou and Sammy, and that was it. Because Martin Buchan was a great captain, and we had Stuart Houston and Alex Forsyth, and Jimmy Nicol came in. So we had a good team, really. Did Tommy Baldwin play for Manchester United? Yeah, Tommy. Well, that was when we went down, you see, because your teammate, when we played against you in Seattle when I was at Dallas, you had Ron Davis, didn't you, playing for you?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Yeah, well, Ron came as well. He came on loan and played for us when we went down.
Yeah.
Of course, we had George Graham. It was incredible, really.
Yeah. Ron Davis, the captain of our drinking team. I was vice captain.
Oh, no, I don't believe that.
Can we go back to 68 for a minute?
Yeah, go on.
I'm sure everyone wants to know about 68, a bit more about 68, and the lead up to the. I mean, how much confidence was there amongst the squad that you would go all the way that year?
Well, I think really the way it panned out, really. I mean, it was straight knockout in those days. It was no messing around. We played a team from Malta, Hibernian and Malta in the first round. Then we came up against a very strong Yugoslav team, and they sort of we got through that game. We got through that game, and then we had Gornik of Poland in the quarterfinals. We won 2-0 at home, and then we went to Gornik, and I mean, the players of today would never have played in what we played in. There was 105,000 in that Katowice stadium, and it was 16 below. There was 6 inches of snow on the pitch that had been trampled down. But we it was 0-0, I think about 5 minutes ago, so we're looking good. And then I don't know how long we're now, but I only had 4 seconds. If I got the ball, I had to release the ball in 4 seconds. And, you could get away with, a bit, you know what I mean? But obviously, I took this corner near the end, and because I couldn't keep my feet, I've got hold of the ball, and I'm stumbling, like trying to keep my feet. And the bloody ref pulled me up for 4 seconds. And they bloody scored from the free kick. It ricocheted. A guy called Labansky, who was a great player for them, scored. And we got through. Then we went to Madrid. Well, we beat Real Madrid. George scored with an unbelievable goal in the semi-final at Old Trafford. We went there thinking, well, we've got a chance. We keep it to 0-0. It was 0-0 after 30 minutes, but it was 3-1 to Real Madrid at half time, But they scored all the goals. I mean, they had our goals, no goal. Because I mean, but Matt was brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I believe no other manager No other manager would have done what he did at half time, because we're absolutely, I mean, 3-1 down. They were brilliant. They were absolutely, Hensov had scored, and Amantio, you know. And we went in the dressing room, because you only had 10 minutes in those days out, didn't you? You know, at half time. And we sat there, and he never said a word. He never said a word, Matt. He sat on the stool, he had his pipe, and he tutted at us. He just tutted at us. Our heads dropped. He never said anything. And then just before the bell went to go out, he stood up and he laughed at every one of us. What are you doing? What are you doing in semi-final European Cup? You should be out enjoying yourselves, attacking teams like you've done all season. Go out and play the way you want to play, the way you can play. And he said, if you score the first goal, he said, you'll win the game. And David Sadler scored after about 5-10 minutes. And that made it 3-3. And then, would you believe it? Bloody Bill Fawkes, our centre half, what, 17 years? Never been over bloody halfway line in his life. Ran from our penalty box to their penalty box, unmarked, but it would be.
Yeah.
George beat about 4 players and passed him the ball. And George never passed him the ball, did he? and Bill puts the ball in the back of the net. So, you know, Bobby is captain, because Dennis was out because he had a cartilage problem. And Bill Fawkes, the other survivor of Munich, you know, scored the goal, put us in the final. And then that was it against Benfica, which was, you know, for us, great, because we're playing at Wembley. And that,
I'm a great believer, and I'm sure you've entered your mind. We have conversations amongst ourselves, and sometimes your name might be written on it.
That's it. I agree with you.
Especially after Munich, and thank God it did happen. You know, because you'd have hated Busby to go to his grave.
Oh, that's right. I mean, that was his ultimatum. That was, you know, you knew it once we'd won it. You know what I mean? Once you've won it, you could tell the emotion that it was all about what he did. He in other words, we'd done it for those players as well. You know what I mean? We'd done it, but he was so, you know, grateful and glad that everything was put into place after 10 years, really. Yeah. I mean, it could never be put in place in live, you know, in life and that, but for the supporters and the families and everything, you know, that was fantastic.
Absolutely. Great memories, mate.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't an easy game because they were a good team. You know, I mean, they were full of internationals, and you know, I mean, Bobby scored. I mean, like you just said, Al, you know, your name's on it sometimes. When Bobby scored the first goal with his head, your bloody name's on it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that was it, really. I mean, okay, I had this thing with, you know, they were a good team. Gracia scored past me with about 10 minutes to go, and because they had a big 6'5" centre forward called Torres. And he got above Bill Fawkes and nodded the ball down for Gracia, and he smashed it past me. But you know, then with 4 minutes to go, the thing was, before we went out to the game, Matt said, he never really said a lot to most players, but I remember when we got in that tunnel, you know, when you go up at Wembley, there was a long bloody walk, wasn't it? You know, he just said, he said to Nobby, I want you to mark Eusebio man for man, like you did in the semi-final of the World Cup, you know, against Portugal 2 seasons ago. And because Nobby, that was Nobby's job, really. And when the ball was played through, I think I forget who put it through, but so I put it through. I could see Eusebio running it through, and Bill Fawkes had Torres, Tony Dunn had Samoas, I think, and Shea Brennan, my right full-back, he had Augusto, and I'm looking for Nobby, and he's nowhere to be seen. Because it left me one against one.
Yeah, 1-on-1, yeah.
Oh, bloody hell. But I'd come forward. But the Wembley turf in those days was lush, wasn't it? And it used to slow the ball up if you hadn't, you know. And I'd gone, and I'm not going to get it. And I went back and then went forward. I was always believed in if you go forward, you've got a chance.
Yeah.
But he smashed it straight at me, actually. Yeah. I mean, it's so bloody hard. It knocked me over. I mean, it stuck in my chest. It knocked me over. But I knew there was only like 3 or 4 minutes to go, and once I got that ball, I'd always told my fullbacks, you know, when I've got the ball, you go, because we're gonna start a counter attack. And Tony Dunn, off he went, and I threw him the ball. So that was it. And I think you say, well, I've been told that you say you applauded me or whatever, but I wasn't interested in that. I was more interested in starting a counter attack, you know.
Yeah. Which brings me to the modern game. Yeah. How would you have got on with playing 1-2s with your fullbacks in the tight penalty area?
No way.
No way.
They do what I would. They'd have to do what I would want them to do, not what.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? I mean, mind you, you couldn't do that on the pitches we play with.
Well.
No.
Well, Guardiola seems to think you can, Alex.
Well, yeah, on the pitches they've got today, but we're not on that pitches. We couldn't play across the 18-yard box.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
But I mean, how would you have felt? I mean, if you were up front and the ball keeps going back, you make a run and it doesn't come, and it goes back there, and you make another run. No, what are you going to do?
Well, I always say in this conversation, you know, if you sit down sometimes and you think about how you played the game yourself, and when I played the game, I can't remember passing the ball back too many times. I certainly wouldn't pass it back to a goalkeeper and expect him to give me the other side of the centre forward for sure. No. I think it's kind of the problem it's caused is these managers in lower leagues and all that, they're doing it with much inferior players, you know, and goalkeepers are doing the Johan Cruyff.
I know it's I think it's stupid, but
yeah,
that's how it is, and you'll never change it.
Well,
unless someone in our day, I mean, if you started winning at the start of the season, you know for yourself. If a team starts winning, you know, 3 or 4 games on the bounce, there was coaches that stop them playing when you played against them. You know what I mean? Yeah, but they don't do that today, do they?
No.
About, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think one of the funniest things about the European Cup final, because when we went into extra time, you know, I mean, like I said, actually the referee was the same referee that I had in Gornick, right? Who stopped me. And I thought, bloody hell, every time I got the ball, I'm not going to miss it out kicking it, you know what I mean? Because when you go in extra time, you know, and I'll never forget it. And I got the ball and I threw it to Tony Dunn, who's my left fullback. If no one near him, but you're in extra time, and he didn't want to make a mistake, so he could have gone forward. He give it back to me because I could pick it up.
Yeah.
And then I looked over to my right, and there was Shea Brennan, and he was my fullback. It was a real character, Shea. And I threw him the ball, and he didn't want it. He kicked it back to me. So now I kick it up the pitch, and young Brian Kidd on his birthday just got a flick on because George was still full of running. He was a fit lad, George, you know, back then. And he got on the ball and he nutmegged the captain Kaluna, went round him, and then went round the keeper and scored the goal. Well, you know what happened after it? We know Brian scored, and then Bobby scored his second. And after we'd done the lap of honour and everything, got in the dressing room, and you know what it's like, you know, you win this, there's a lot of emotion and things like that, but you always get a lull, you know, probably about 5 or 10 seconds. And in that lull, Shea Brennan stood up on a chair in that dressing room at Wembley with a senior service in one hand, cigarette, and a glass of champagne in the other hand. He said, right, lads, just remember, I started to move for our second goal. I knew you were
going to say that. I got an assist.
You wouldn't get that today.
No, great characters.
Yeah.
Great characters.
Alex, you mentioned George's goal there. I think I've read more than once that maybe you can corroborate this or deny it, that he thought when he went round the keeper, he had a split-second thought.
Yeah. I know what you're going to say.
Go on, you tell.
Well, he always used to, you know, say, you know, look, if I get the chance, I'm gonna, and no one's near me, I'm gonna I'm going to just knock the ball, and then it gets to the line, I'm going to dive and head it over the line. And he thought about it because he went round the keeper, and if you remember that goal, he didn't smash it in. He had that half and half thing, and he just strolled it in.
He just rolled it in. Yeah. I'm glad he didn't do that.
I am and all.
Yeah. Because we played at Stoke one day against Southampton, and Ozzy played for Southampton, and John Ritchie ball stopped on the line, and he got down on his knees and headed it in over the line. And I was playing for Stoke, obviously, and I walked back and I said to Oz, "You should have been back there, kick him in the head, mate. That's out of order. That's out of order. That was out of order. That's not part of the
game.
No. I'm sure George only joked about it. He wouldn't have done it.
Nah, I don't think he would. I mean, he'd do it in training.
Yeah, of course. I'll do it on a night out in a nightclub. Yeah.
What was it like to take us into the dressing room, Alex? I mean, all those years you spent with George in the Old Trafford dressing room. What was it like? You know, sharing the same.
He was just he was great. George, he was a shy lad. He was very shy, you know. He wasn't outgoing like most people think. It was only after, you know, when he left and his life changed completely. But it was such a great lad, and like, you know, you before any game, whether you're at home or away, you have a pre-match meal, and you know, you sit and watch television, a bit of racing or whatever, you know, until it's like, normally every game was at 3 o'clock. It was, you know, at 2 o'clock, some players started to go in the dressing room and get changed, but George didn't. He just sat around and then, but you know, at 2:45, most players are near enough ready, and in walks George, you know, and everyone's got their boots tied up, like perfect and everything. And George, you take his shirt off and put his shirt on, take his shirt off, put his shorts on, put his boots on, do a bow. No. Right, lads. Okay, we're ready. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, thanks for coming, George. Yeah.
That's it.
It was. I mean, I was. Funnily enough, I was only doing something with my mate Don Shanks the other day about Stan Bowles. Stan Bowles had the most. How Dave Sexton, with the way he was with us, I don't say let him get away with it, but he would be in the betting shop at 20-3.
Yeah.
You know, and come in.
But George,
Don would say that when he went to the betting shop at 2:30, he would give Don his overcoat to hang it up in his spot to tell Dave that he is there. You know, and Dave would come in and he'd go, "Oh, where's Stan?" He said, "Oh, he's here." He said, "He's here. He's sorting his tickets out or something."
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
That was it.
Hey, what a great time! What a great life we've had at playing football, professional football. Fantastic.
Well, absolutely. Well, especially, you know, you play. They call it the theatre of dreams, and you have your ups and downs and everything else. But you know, thinking about what you said right at the very beginning and how it could have went. You know, Tommy Dock, and you've. Fulham turn you away like they turned me away, and next thing you know, you win the European Cup, and it's sometimes you're in the right place at the right time, and you've got to take that chance. I was in two minds whether I wanted to be a pro footballer when I was a kid in the 50s. Of course I did, but it never materialised until when I'm 20 and I think, I was doing well at Tooting Mitcham in the old Isthmian League as it was then, you know. And I thought, well, and then all of a sudden, I got that chance. Yeah, and was it because there was a bad winter? You know what I mean? It was just one of those things. Yeah.
And I've had a go at it.
Yeah, it's a lovely story. Make a lovely film. No, I like them films. I like the old happy endings, Alex. I'm like that.
Well, you know, like the way things turned out. I won the league with United, and then obviously we won the European Cup. But it took another 9 years for me to get my treble medal, which was, you know, against Liverpool in '77, because we got beat by Southampton in '76. 1-0. Bobby Stokes scored against us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but we didn't play well, and it's a one-off game. It was a one-off game. Liverpool were on a treble in '77, and I was on a treble, my treble. I won mine, but they didn't win this.
Yeah, you're lucky to get. I only drink trebles, Alex.
I've heard more.
Listen, I'll tell you what, something it's quite interesting as well, because you nearly had my boss, Tony Waddington.
Right.
Matt Busby wanted him to take over from him.
Did he really?
Yeah. And when I left Chelsea to go to Stoke, I had to go to a tribunal about my money, and Chelsea lied. Chelsea lied. They said, I asked for transfer. I didn't, but neither.
No.
But Matt Busby was on the committee.
Yeah.
And we come back on the train. Me, Tony Wadden, Albert Henschel, our chairman.
Yeah.
And another chap who was with Matt. And every time Tony spoke, Matt hung on to everything he said. He wanted him. Leeds wanted him to take over from Cloughie Waddington, but because he was a Busby babe, Tony.
Yeah, I know. And the thing about that is when we played Stoke, at Stoke, it was like you get on the bus and you have to wait 3/4 of an hour now. Tony would have Matt having a drink and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way it should be. Yeah. But they were. I know he wanted him, and he loved Stoke so much he wouldn't go there. But I think he see as well that he was trying to build when Stoke had a decent team, 75.
Yeah,
and he could see that Manchester United kind of
was going a bit because of Tommy, wasn't it? That's why.
Yeah, and and it took a while to get another good manager. Then when Alex came,
well, that's it. I mean, you had you had Dave Sexton came after because the controversy with Tommy going, with Mary Brown and the physio's wife, and then Dave Sexton came, and then I think Ron Atkinson came. And then obviously Alex came, and Alex didn't have it really good for the first 2 or 3 years, but once he won that league title, off he went.
That was
and sometimes that happens, doesn't it? I mean, once you win something, boom, everything takes off.
Yeah, you turn the corner, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
especially with the class of '92. I mean, they were, that's incredible.
So can we finish off with a summation of the current team, Alex? Obviously, they've won under Ten Hag. They've won trophies in the last 2 years. I mean, he's had a lot of criticism, but when all said and done, he's won 2 trophies.
It's something that I've got to say from my position that being an ex-Manchester United player and the way we played and the way Alex played, there was always, counter-attacks going forward, and but the game's changed drastically now. And I think really that the supporters still want that Manchester United way of playing. But what can you say? He's going to win the League Cup, and he's going to win the FA Cup. Well, I mean, if we'd have played like they did against City in the final back in May, they'd have probably been in the Champions League. But think about it, and they must know about it. I mean, he must know about it. You let in more goals than you score. So there's something got to be changed, really. I mean, okay, every team has injuries. I accept that.
But I think I don't know how he's got, I think I'm allowed to say this a lot more than you're allowed to say. He's lucky that when they beat Man City in the cup final. Did that save his job, Alex?
Well, I don't know. I presume so. I can only say that. I mean, we don't know anything. I mean, it's such a different world now. Not only at Manchester United, but in every team. The game's changed. People move. I mean, Well, look at it. Let's be honest, Al. I mean, if I can say this, I will say it. Is in 1970 when I got in the World Cup squad, the 28. Okay, they were the first. Alf, I think Alf named the team a team of 40 in March or something like that, plus 6 reserves.
Yeah.
Right. So you're talking 46 top class players. You know. And you know, which goes down to 22 at the end of the day. Could you do that now? Could you name 46 top class players, world class players, in an England team from the Premier League?
No, I think
interesting.
Without getting too critical, but looking at the Euros, we haven't got.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the game's changed so much with so many players from all over the world coming in. And don't get me wrong, it's exciting football. There's some great players that come in from all over the world, but we haven't got those amount of players that Alf Ramsey had in 1970.
Well, it was a lot. I suppose it was a lot easier for Alf because they were all British, weren't they? And
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Point, yeah. And the influx of overseas players have been the saviour of English football.
Well, I agree with you.
But our teams that we had, Chelsea team in 1970, all British.
That's right.
From Gateshead, you from Mitcham.
We're all over, weren't we? I mean,
yeah.
But look what Alex had. You know, with Scholes and Giggs and Levels and some with Browns and wonderful. That was it. Obviously, you had your foreign players coming in, but
yeah,
the players that come through the system.
Yeah,
not bought for millions. And he won what? I don't know how many, 35 trophies or something in that time. I don't know.
Well,
incredible man.
Yeah, he's an incredible manager. Fantastic. I had a couple of run-ins. I got on quite well with him after games down in London, but he threw me out of Old Trafford one day. He threw me out, yeah. I was walking through with a couple of mates. He said, "Go on, get out." Yeah. And I was going to see Brian Robson, and the girl let me through the door when you go up to where you have your team meetings. And I was walking through, and he said, "Go on, get out." He said, I was only with him about 3 weeks earlier in West Ham having a glass of wine. And Robbo went to me. I phoned him back. She said, "Let me phone Brian." I went, "No, it don't matter. I'll go, love. It don't matter." So Robbo said, "Get him on the phone." And I went on the phone. He went, "Take no notice of him. He's just been in a meeting. He's a moody kid. He's like it all the time. Someone's upset him."
All right, look, I think we've probably kept Alex on far too long.
All right.
I apologise.
Any final thoughts that you want to pass on, Alan?
Yeah, come up to Old Trafford.
Well, you come up and give us a ring, and I'll try and get you a ticket. No Stan Flashmans no more.
No. Great to see you, mate. You look well.
Not bad. Yourself. Take care. And thanks
all
very
right.
much.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks very much for coming on the show, Alex. We much appreciate it. Some lovely stories there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay. Give my regards to Kent, Tony.
I will do indeed. I'll nip down to Tooting next time.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Good luck, Al.
God bless.
Cheers, pal. Bye, mate.